Fantasy managers, hello and welcome back to the FPL Addicts Game Week 3 Preview Show for Fantasy Premier League 2021-2022 season, powered by Esports Live and sponsored by Bonus Bank. It's Game Week 3, so surely you've already registered for our mini leagues, but if you haven't, they are still open for registration. Our free mini code is 1KSRYW, and if you fancy a little bit more competition, check out the paid mini at www.e-sportslive.com.au/FPL Addicts, which includes 5k worth of cash prizes, including Manager of the Week, Manager of the Month, and end of season cash rewards. Our FPL community Discord server is also buzzing. Details on how to join the conversation whenever you're listening, whether you're playing for fun or if you're all in for FPL, it is also on the website listed before. And if you're listening to the podcast on Apple, please take a moment just to rate it and review it. And if you're watching along on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe just so you never miss an upload and you help grow our name, which would be really nice. But now that that's over, it's time to introduce today's panel and guests. We've got the usual suspects. We've got Ollie, Jack, Dave, and of course we've got the FPL guru, the one and only Matt Day from FPL Addicts. So we'll start with you, Matt. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Elliot. Can't complain about the Spurs result on the weekend. And then obviously FPL steady, not the worst result for me, beat the average, but yeah, pretty happy.
Yeah, absolutely, and we will get into it straight away. We'll look at the results from the weekend that Matt was just alluding to there with the Spurs game. If we bring up the share screen, so Matt, Spurs 1, Wolves 0. What a good start to your week it was with that. Dele Alli on penalty duty though. Were you sort of a little bit annoyed to see that?
Yeah, look, the first sort of thing I thought about when he won the penalty was, someone's going to take this, and I was really excited at that point because he's a bit of a differential for all of our teams. But I was happy in the end that, Dele Alli put it away and we won the game. Tight game, and Wolves probably deserve to get something out of it in the end, but I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ollie, I'll go to you next because you were very adamant last week that Southampton were going to beat Manchester United. They ended up coming away with a point. Man United obviously couldn't get the job done. So are you pretty happy to see it was a 1-1 draw?
Yeah, look, I had a decent feeling about Southampton. I don't know why. I just thought that they would go there and do something. Obviously, in front of their home fans, they would, not roll over for Man United as they did last year for the 9-0. Adam Armstrong was absolutely robbed of an assist. I don't know how Che Adams wasn't given that goal. So I was initially buzzing that he would be getting assist points and that my draft transfer might pay off. But I thought he played all right. I watched both games. Thought Southampton were all right. Man United deserved to get back into the game. Mason Greenwood got a little bit lucky with a bit of poor goalkeeping, but it was nice to see him score. Obviously involved in my transfers this week. We'll get onto those later. But yeah, decent performance from Southampton. I think they showed themselves well, and they might have to kick on now. And for Man United, then just quite poor. And Jack was fuming, which was good to see.
Jack, anything else to comment on that?
No, I think Ollie summed it up just about right. Both my how I felt and also the game. It was a bit of a shocker in terms of United after last week's result against Leeds. Coming into this one, thought the assets would be firing for United, and I think if we grabbed a couple, if we grabbed a goal first, it could have changed the game slightly. But the midfield was horrendous. We were so sloppy. And Southampton could have easily grabbed another one, to be fair, and United back and forth. So maybe a draw was about right, but yeah, not great week.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll move on to the third fixture, which we'll review. And Dave, West Ham were champions at their very first home game with fans back this season against Leicester. 4-1. FPL managers would have been rejoiced with the performances from Antonio and Benrahma. Just how good were they? He's on mute.
Apologies, boys. Yes, West Ham looking pretty exciting at the moment. They're scoring a fair few goals, and Antonio is obviously leading the charge with that one. So I think they're a team that I've certainly got some assets for, and will continue to be keeping a close eye on them as to how they're going. And yeah, they're doing well.
Yeah, they absolutely are, and I'm sure a lot of people within our paid mini league would have had a lot of Benrahmas and Antonios near the top. As you can see, Tom Stone's tops the mini league as of now with 206 points. It's going to be quite difficult to stop him, Ollie. I know we spoke about him last week. You know him quite well. You know, he's got off to a flyer in his first 2 game weeks, hasn't he? And he's already making a similar name for himself this season that he did last season.
Oh, he's made the name for himself, and he's just cementing that now, isn't he? He's saying that he doesn't want to get ahead of himself, which after 2 game weeks is fair enough, but I keep telling him that he's got a right to be buzzing with his start. Look, he's turned me over in the head-to-head league as well, so he was really, really happy with life. I still can't get over the fact that he said that he was going to struggle this season. Top of the league. I think he'll be right up there towards the end of the season, but stop chatting out your behind, Tom Stones. But obviously, well done again.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Mahon Tunjuk Ajar sits in second, just 6 points off the pace there. And then Geordie Wilson, who I best believe is a future podcast guest for the upcoming weeks, as well as also sitting pretty tidily, sitting in third at the minute. So we enjoy, getting to talk to him in the future, getting a little bit of advice off of him, maybe, considering none of us are up there as of now. But that's how the paid league is shaping up. If we move on to the free mini, Tom Stones, again, it's Tom Stones galore. It's going to be a common theme this season. He sits top with Greg Cook in second and Umar Damara sitting comfortably in third. We didn't get the Women's League to you last week, but I do have the standings for that this week. In first, we've got Maya, and then in second, we've got Karen Spence, and in third, we've got Lynn Fullager. And then another one which we didn't get to you last week was the Bonus Bank FPL Mini, which is a head-to-head league for the first 38 paid mini league members. It's going to be a fairly fun league this season, I think. And as I mentioned before, it's going to be no surprise to see Tom Stones sitting up there pretty comfortably in first in that league on 6 points. We won't talk too much about myself considering I'm on none, but we've got the likes of Matt Cowling in sixth. The average is even in there on 11th, so our average is having a pretty good season so far. But as I mentioned, Tom Stones does top that league for now, and it'll be a nice escape from the classic leagues to have a little head-to-head one every now and then. So Ollie, how have you started with the head-to-head league? You said you're done over by Tom Stones this week. Are you sitting fairly near the bottom, similarly to me?
Look, I think it was one of those we said before. I think that it wasn't a great one for me at the weekend. Obviously got smashed by Tom Stones. I even said to him, it was a bit like Rovers at the weekend. Obviously Rovers players West Brom, top of the league, got beat. So I said it was much the same to Tom. I said, no harm in losing to the best in the league. So, it's one of those where you just take the loss, move forward, and hopefully I can, get one over him in the reverse fixture. But no, the head-to-head league, much like the rest of fantasy so far this season, hasn't gone brilliantly for me. Did turn up in the first week, but I don't think this head-to-head league will be one I'll be winning, to be fair. Currently in 17th. I was in 7th for game week 1, so I think I must have, I got a win, a 5-point win in game week 1, but like we said off air, peaked in game week 1, haven't got near since, so hopefully I can turn that around with a win in game week 3.
Yeah, we always hope for the best, mate. And it's also, in my job to mention the manager of the week, as I alluded to at the start of the podcast, is Bradley Shatako, who comes away with game week 2 manager. His team name, No Cane, No Gain. And I believe there was Matt, was that your team name last year? No Cane, No Gain?
Nah, it wasn't mine last year, but I know we had a few of them in the league. With that name.
Sounds familiar to me, that one. It's a fairly common name. Well, he doesn't really care how common it is. He's the top no gain in our league at the minute. He got 89 points and he claims his 20 Aussie dollar weekly prize, and we look forward to having him on the podcast very soon as well. So it looks like we're going to be getting a fair influx of pretty successful FPL managers, lads. So after the shocking weeks, which we will move on to explaining our teams now, we can maybe pick a little bit of advice up from the guests on the podcast. But if we move on to your team, Dave, 53 points this week. How happy were you with sort of your performance, and just walk us through your team?
Probably a fairly ordinary week, I think, for me. 53 points. I think I had sort of only 3 real contributors, being Simicas, Ings, and Greenwood. Not a great captain choice with Bruno this week, but I think a lot of people, who went with Bruno and Salah obviously didn't return this week. And I had Greenwood as my vice captain, who scored 10, so it would have been nice if I had to swap those two around. I had talked during the week about bringing in Salah, but unfortunately I missed the deadline to make that trade, but probably didn't really hurt me with Salah not returning. But I think I'm sort of considering whether I actually do make the move this week now that they've got Chelsea this week. So I might look to plug one of my two missing defenders. So Target and White both missed, and Villa's got a pretty tough run coming up. And Target, if he's not going to be a regular in the team, then I may look to move him on, and save a bit of money and bring in like a Duffy or a Pinnock, and then keep 2 free transfers next week to bring Solar in.
Yeah, I think it is worth mentioning. I think Matt Target played in the Cup for Aston Villa this week. I'm not sure how many minutes he played, but I know a fair few of them. The likes of Twanzebe got a run out and El Ghazi got another run out. So there was a fair few, probably people that would be considered starters that did manage to get a game. Heung-min Son, Dave, as I mentioned with Matt before, were you a little bit disappointed to see that he wasn't taking the penalty? And do you think that sort of takes away from, a lot of his price point, a lot of the hype around him was, Harry Kane's not in the team, he'll be taking penalties. So what's your sort of opinion on that situation?
It was disappointing to see he didn't take it. I think for me, Son's a part of my move to get Salah, I think. So it's probably not going to be something I'm that concerned about long term. But yeah, I think for people who sort of plan on sticking with Son, if he's not going to be on penalties, then he probably struggles to justify his price tag potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably agree with you there with, the likes of the Salahs and stuff like that. But I don't have Heung-min Son myself, and I also had a fairly poor week, 51 points for myself. I was delighted to see Brighton getting a clean sheet and Robert Sanchez getting some points. He's off the fraud watch just for this week with, everyone getting conned into choosing him as their goalkeeper. Cresswell and Digne didn't really contribute much, but it was all right because Tsimikas and Trent really did the heavy lifting for my defence there. As you can see, Salah, my captain, he didn't end up hitting that, that fraction of an offside from that Harvey Elliott through ball who Ollie was buzzing about on our watch along on the weekend. But we just waited maybe that fraction too long to play it, and Salah was deemed offside, so he had his goal disallowed. It seemed like it was going to be such a perfect start to the game week, but it wasn't, unfortunately. Fernandes also blanked, and Kai Havertz, a man who I was pretty excited about going into the season, hasn't really done much in the first 2 weeks, and we'll get onto transfers in due time, and he might be one that's getting shipped out for me. And then Ings scored probably wonder goal of the weekend. There's not really too much else to say about that, is there? And then Wilson missed a sitter, robbed of a penalty. Disappointed with that one. Easily, could have had a brace. He doesn't really miss those one-on-ones, so it was a little bit unfortunate to see that. And then Iheanacho, again, I don't know what I was thinking these first 2 weeks. That's all I can say with it. All you can do is laugh at yourself, because I took Antonio out on the last day. So that's sort of the way that my team's looking at the minute. But the less said about that, the better. As we move on to your team, Ollie, 54 points. It was a 56 average point week. So how are you feeling, mate? He's also on mute.
I've not got much else to say, really, have I? Dreadful week. Obviously, Pizza Boy's comments sold you down the river, mate. I don't know if you refuse to acknowledge that one, so I'll do it for you. But again, my defence to the lifting, obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold putting himself forward as a potential curveball captain shout, so he was immense on the early kickoff. Tsimikas, he's a player I'm going to hold but bench at the moment. I'm banking on another price rise to 4.2. I haven't checked them today, so I don't know if he's risen already. I don't think he has, but I'm waiting for that 4.2 before I get rid of him. Reguilon, obviously, the Guru said himself that he thought it was a decent pick. Another clean sheet for Tottenham, so I thought that they were quite lucky in patches to get that clean sheet. I thought the Wolves played a decent game and maybe deserved to potentially grab a goal, but it was nice to see Reguilon get a clean sheet there. And outside of that, no one really did anything for me, which was a real shame. Obviously, I would have liked to see Son on the penalty, but Dele Alli's obviously tucked it away. It was nice, obviously, as an England fan to see him score. Obviously, his career's fallen off a little bit, so hopefully he recovers things a little bit, just for England fans' sake. The Newcastle duo let me down again.
Why have you got two? Why have you got two Newcastle players? I've got one and I'm hating myself and I'm kicking myself. Why have you got two?
I thought that Willock was going to do something, and he's straight out my team. I thought he was going to do something. Obviously, did really well last season at Newcastle. Callum Wilson, as you say, got a bit unlucky, so he's one I'm going to persist with. Even though there is the likes of Antonio, around that
Not
price
Ian,
point.
actually.
For the moment, I'm going to stick with Callum Wilson, and then Ivan Toney's just not got there yet. Although I'm sure once he hits his straps, he'll be a decent striker. So average week for me, but made a couple of transfers to hopefully improve myself next week.
Yeah, I just want to ask you about Reguilon, Ollie, because obviously it's a fairly different pick. We haven't seen too many people, back that Spurs defence going into the season. Man City and Wolves away in their first two fixtures. So what was your sort of thought process behind him? He's got 2 defensive returns for you. So what was your thoughts?
I just thought going forward he might be able to offer something. Obviously, the Manchester City game, I thought long and hard about whether to keep hold of him because I thought that Manchester City would turn Tottenham over. They didn't. So I was buzzing when I saw that he was on for the clean sheet there. I don't know. I just had a feeling with Reguilon. I thought it would do something. Decent Tottenham defence. It's not the greatest, but it's still, pretty good. So, and also obviously got the payoffs potentially going forward. He's an attacking fullback, so you know what he's capable of going forward. So, I'm really happy with that differential pick, and it's serving well so far.
Yeah, it's definitely served you well so far, and I really commend you for that pick because I don't think I would have been brave enough to go with a Spurs defender this early in the season, but it's paid off for you. Jack, 51 points as well, similarly to me. Just take us through your team, mate.
Yeah, similar to you, El. It's not been too exciting of a weekend after the Salah goal got disallowed. I thought, we're in for a long weekend here, and obviously Bruno against United didn't do much, but Greenwood, thank God, saved that. But it's not going to be a good weekend when Tsimikas is your top scorer for your points haul. So I think that's where that sums up my game week, similar to yours, El. Good job with Ings, obviously grabbing the goal there. My kind of differentials with Wood and Richarlison hasn't paid off this week, and obviously spewing about the Son penalty with Ali taking that one instead. So not a great week. None of my subs did anything, and Amati, obviously they got killed off by Antonio and West Ham. I'm not too sure Amati would have been kissing the Antonio's cutout that he put on there. But Luke Shaw with the 4 as well was fairly decent, and Sanchez back on it, and the fraud squad is hopefully quiet for a week while we benefit from the clean sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Luke Shaw one that you think you're going to persist with, Jack? We spoke about it on the stick or twist section last week. He hasn't got a clean sheet in either of his opening games, but he did manage to get 2 bonus points this week. So do you think you'll be sticking with him?
I think so. I'm obviously a massive fan of Luke Shaw. One, being a United fan, 2, being a lefty. His development over the last 12 months, his form has been insane. I think we're still at 5.5. He's still kind of a bargain. I don't know if he's on a price drop or not anytime soon, but he's going to be staying in my team. I think going forward as well, Varane's going to come into the United team. Hopefully a bit of the shake up after this week. The fixtures after the tough period that we're going to go into in a couple of weeks' time, that might be questionable about how the clean sheets go. But thereafter, he's going to, if he puts in a couple performances, if that, if his price goes up, he's going to be one to keep hold of. So yeah, he's staying for me.
Yeah, and I think you've got Newcastle in the coming weeks as well, mate. So I definitely wouldn't be getting rid of any of your Manchester United defenders just yet, if you are listening, and would probably hold on to them for as much as you can. But we'll move on to your team, Matt, and we'll just go through it briefly because I haven't mentioned it yet, but we will be doing another podcast on Friday where it's just the Guru and myself, and the Guru is sort of going to go through his team, his strategies for the week. It's just going to be a real deep analysis of what to do for sort of game week 3. So just sort of briefly take us through your team, Matt.
Yeah, look, I probably got saved by Antonio at the end to, beat the average and get a pretty steady score of 65. And my transfer was Grealish in for Maddison, and he grabbed the goal. Obviously, it wasn't the best goal, but they all count. Yeah, so we'll take that. In terms of transfer, it paid off this week. Danny Ings was good. Tsimikas, Sanchez. But yeah, similar to Jack and Mate come in for me. I had Ben White, still in my squad. He got COVID last minute, and Mate come in and still got a 0, so it didn't make much of a difference. But look, steady week. I think I'll take 65 with the way it kind of panned out for a few other teams. So yeah, not too bad. But yeah, Tony yet to fire, but again, I think he's surely due a goal soon.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll be a hot topic of discussion on Friday's podcast. So we'll definitely be getting into that. But Ali, our guest last week, has just asked Jack, what do you think of the stupid decision I think it's meant to be of Ollie not starting Sancho and Rafael Varane?
Yeah, I was just replying to him back on Twitter then, but it's I don't think Varane was ready to come into it just yet. Imagine if we played him and Armstrong ran rings around him, it would have been it would not been a good thing to get
poetry.
Started. Yeah, listen, so I think Ollie did well taking care of him there, not starting him. And then Sancho, it was a bit of a weird one with Sancho. I think everyone's expecting him to obviously boom and do well, which we all want to see. But him coming on, I think he played about 40 minutes in the end with the extra time, but nothing much went through him. There was only one opportunity, so we got in the box, he got the cross. But I think United just need to maybe integrate him a bit more, obviously in there in training, and hopefully on the pitch he can bring up the goods after a couple more games. So I think both maybe weren't ready, or we haven't got it tactically right just yet with Ollie. But from an FPL perspective, I think investment in them too. I think they'll pay off in time. Might be a couple of weeks before that hits.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a pretty fair comment. Rafael Varane didn't get too much of a pre-season, so you've got to take your time with this. And I'm sure we'll see a big strengthening in that Man United defence as soon as he says, no one can underestimate Varane. He's a star. Not starting him was a terrible mistake. And, that's the beauty of football, isn't it? We will never know what would have happened, but I'm sure what we will be able to agree on is that when Varane is starting for Man United and he is fit, we'll see a massive increase in their clean sheets and that sort of defensive ability, which will happen in the near future. But if we move on to your team, Reedy, and you've sat patiently at the bottom of the screen waiting for your moment of glory, 70 points this week in a 56 average point week. First of all, how are you, mate? And second of all, just take us through your team.
Well, good morning here from obviously the UK, and good evening to you lads over in Australia. I'm good, mate. I'm good. Can't complain with my fantasy week. Beat the average. Would have liked to have done better, but I think the captain pick is the one that stung most people. So I can't complain too much with the 70. Can't complain, mate. Similar to the rest of the guys, with certain players, similar players. Antonio, just on fire, isn't he? No stopping him at the moment. There's a few in there that you question, do you take him out or not? But I think with the international period coming up, I think it's best just keeping your cards close to your chest.
I love the Duffy pick, mate. I'm just looking at your team and I really, really like the Duffy pick. Obviously, a lot of people... I'm sorry, the Dunk pick, not the Duffy pick. A lot of people favoured Duffy over Dunk. But do you sort of see a bit more value long-term in Lewis Dunk over Shane Duffy?
I would say so. You look at his stats from last season. You look at he loves getting a goal off set pieces, off his corners and stuff. The clean sheets from Brighton. I wasn't too happy when obviously Brighton didn't keep that clean sheet the first week, but going into the second week, that's a 12 pointer off 2 players there. So I think Lewis Dunk's a great asset to have. Still pretty cheap. Obviously Duffy's the cheaper asset to have. But, with Brighton having certain players injured, defenders like Lamptey and, you've got Dan Burn, I think, possibly one other defender, Veltman as well, who could come into the lineup, and that means that Duffy could be shipped out. So Dunk's your guaranteed starter in that back line, in my opinion. So, yeah, I like him.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Statman Dave says in the chat, there's a 0.9 million difference in price. And I definitely agree with you there. I think Dunk long-term is, will give you greater opportunity in FPL over Duffy. But, a pretty mixed sort of response from game week 2 on the podcast. But, it's full steam ahead now. There's no time to stop as we move on to game week 3. So I've just brought up the fixtures on my screen. And Ollie, I'll start with you. Is there any sort of fixtures that really pop out to you straight away other than Newcastle Southampton, because you're going to say Armstrong's going to score a hat-trick? He probably will. Is there any other fixtures that really pop out to you?
He's going to score. Armstrong, he will score a hat-trick. Armstrong will score. There's my Mystic Ollie prediction for the podcast. I don't know. Obviously, we don't want to be making that a weekly segment, but last week I said that Southampton had take something, and then No, I think Armstrong's going to score. It's not the game I'm going to look to, though. It is Liverpool-Chelsea. I think that's a potential title preview, possibly. I think Chelsea will be up there. Liverpool will be up there. Obviously, we've got City early on. I'm sure one of the lads on the podcast will mention that against the relegation battlers early on. But Liverpool-Chelsea, there's so many assets you could be looking at. Lukaku's come back to the Premier League. He's looking amazing up top for Chelsea. Got like some Mohamed Salah we've all got. Probably going to be captained. Robertson potentially coming back. Trent. So there's so many options you could look at from both sides, really. So late on the Saturday night, 5:30 kickoff. All eyes will be on it. So I'm sure that's one you're looking forward to, Reedy.
It is indeed. It is indeed. It's going to be a juicy game.
It's going to be an absolutely cracker. It should be an absolute spectacle. But we'll move on to you now, Reedy, just as Ollie just asked you that question. Other than that game, is there anyone that, sort of really pops out to you? Obviously, you've got the two Brighton assets and they find themselves with Everton this week. But is there any other fixtures that really stand out to you?
I have had a look over the week, in regards to obviously taking transfers into consideration for my team. And the game that kind of does stick out, it pains me to say it, but it's probably Spurs, because you look at in terms of Spurs' first two games, people didn't expect them to keep a clean sheet against City. Obviously, I know they only got the 1-0 win against Wolves, which some people said that Wolves were unlucky to get a point out of that or something. But I just think, they've got that a little bit of momentum now. Kane could be possibly back in the side. They're at home against Watford. And for me, that's probably the standout fixture. Although Leicester have got Norwich, I don't know. I fancy Norwich to potentially get something out of that game. So I'd go with the Spurs game. Second to that, probably West Ham v Palace, with the way West Ham are at the minute. Those two games.
Yeah, absolutely. Then Guru, I'll ask for your opinion on a third game this week that you think's one that FPL managers should really be looking out for.
It's got to be that West Ham Palace game. With Antonio, Benrahma, they're just on absolute hot form. So I think those two players are obviously on absolute fire. So I think West Ham Palace is the one. You've got Fornals in there as well. Cresswell, lots of really good FPL players. So yeah, I think West Ham Palace is definitely the third one to tie off this weekend. Leeds Burnley could have been in there, but I actually thought Burnley weren't too bad at Anfield. So I'm going to go with West Ham Palace. Yeah,
and Ali agrees with you in the live comments there. He says it's going to be lit for Antonio, so I'm sure it means that Antonio is going to be doing a fair bit in that game, and with side Benrahma in there as well. So he sounds pretty excited for that one. So great minds think alike there with you and Ali. But if we sort of just discuss our fixtures, our transfers for this week and our captain picks. We'll start with you, Statman Dave. Is there going to be any transfer activity, do you think, for your team?
I think I'll be looking to replace potentially Target or one of those defenders, like I sort of mentioned before, and probably keep my two trades next week to move on bringing Salah in.
Yeah, and who do you think is going to be your skipper for the week?
Good question. Probably for me, it'll either be Fernandez, or because he's got an away fixture to Wolves, so it's probably a decent fixture for him. Hopefully he can rebound from his 1 point performance this week. Otherwise, potentially I might even look at Danny Ings as well. He's home to Brentford. He's obviously in pretty good form, so that could be my second option.
I've just seen that comment come off on the screen. That's not the actual site in GK, is it? It's not.
Oh my god, it is. I think it is.
It can't be.
That's got to be absolute rubbish.
It can't be. Cannot be.
Isn't that the actual Cycling GK?
It's got to be Mr. Ben Foster himself.
Oh, hold on. Let me check this. Let me check.
Let me check if it's legit.
No way. No
Ollie, can
way.
You do a quick search? He said howdy geese. He does say howdy geese a lot in his videos.
I'm on it, lads. Hold on. Give us a sec.
Has he just raided our podcast there or what?
No way. If that's
quite possibly.
I'll have to get the missus in. She loves Ben Foster.
Ben, if it makes you feel any better, if you are listening, you're in a lot of our fantasy teams yourself, mate. So
yeah, he's in mine.
How do I?
Unfortunately,
I can't go to his channel from the chat. I tell you what, if it is, that's insanity.
If it is, give us a wave in the chat, Ben. Give us a hi. Whatever you need help with, we are here at your service for whatever help that you need for your fantasy team. You know, obviously you update your viewers with it. Yeah, get in our mini league as well. We would absolutely love that. But if that is the real Ben Foster, yeah, just let us know. Give us a wave. Give us a little comment, and we can get on to that. We'll move on to you, Reedy, and your transfers, just as we see if there's any activity in the comments. So what are you going to be doing this week?
Well, I made my my transfers fairly early on. There's been a lot of price rises throughout the week. So basically, I brought Reguilon in, and basically I also brought Armstrong in, the main man up front for Saints. So yeah, Tony's gone out. He's had a couple of game weeks. I know some people might not think that's very long, but he's not hit, and I just think there's more value in Armstrong, 0.5 cheaper. Same with Reguilon, 0.5 cheaper as well. For Luca Digne, Digne hasn't hit, unfortunately, as well. So they're my two for this week, Reguilon and Armstrong. So yeah, fun.
Yeah. Who do you think your captain pick's going to be for this week?
This week, after last week's sort of letdown from Salah and Fernandes, do you stick with them, or basically do you go for that West Ham game and the Mikel Antonio? So I think there's a lot to ponder, but it's leaning towards Antonio at the moment.
Yeah, that's a very fair call, mate. I think a lot of managers will be thinking similarly to you. Jack, if we move on to you now, any transfers? What's your captain pick for the week?
Captain pick, I'm going to go Son for Watford, against Watford. I think he's going to be in for a big one, regardless what Statman Dave is doing with Son. I think he'll be hitting big time. Hopefully our Spurs legend on the podcast, the Guru, can back that up as well. But yeah, Son's in my sights for captain. And then transfer wise, this will go against the grain of what the Guru is thinking, but I needed to save my defence. Targets killed me this season. Tsimikas is probably dropping out, I think, with Robbo coming back in for Liverpool this weekend as well. So I'm probably down to one defender. So I've just gone for Duffy to get in for a week. So I've used a transfer to bring in for a week to see me through. They've obviously got a good fixture in there. So after that, then I'll look to probably just sub him on their side. But yeah, just one transfer for now. Then going into next week, I'll be making a couple of moves.
Yeah, absolutely. And Guru, will we be discussing your transfers and your captain pick on Friday's podcast, so that the manager's going to have to wait for that one for your announcement?
Yeah, look, Friday for me, I'll obviously be going through my transfer and my team. So yeah, going to have to wait till Friday night for that one, boys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fair that the suspense waiting, as JC says in the comments, surely not the real Ben Foster. He's a legend. We love his YouTube content. It's absolutely brilliant, his YouTube content. It's nice to see him back in the Premier League. He did a vlog at the Amex the other day and stuff like that. So it's really nice. Surely someone is going out Foster as their captain. Ben, if you're still in the chat and you're going to play this weekend, just let us know, and maybe one of us will drop a cheeky triple captain on yourself. We know you've got you in your own team, so if you ever do get that intel, you're more than welcome to leak it here and give us the heads up for that one. But Ollie, we'll round it off with your transfers and your captain picks, mate. So what are you doing this week?
I've made my transfers. I said I made them on Monday morning Australian time. So I was really quick because I wanted to avoid a price rise, and I've been managed to do it. I brought in Mason Greenwood when he was still at 7.5. So he rose just after I brought him in, so that was good. And to facilitate that, I've got rid of Luke Shaw. I've gone to Livramento, who will be on the bench for this week. I just think that it's 5.5. There's a lot of defenders, they're cheaper than that might be able to get some returns. And I've got rid of Mr. Steal Your Points, Joe Willock himself. So looks like I'll be playing a 3-4-3 this weekend. I'll be starting Mason Greenwood, obviously. Decent fixture, and captaincy-wise, the main man, Heung-min Son, will be taking the armband for me. I think that he's got a decent home fixture. There's goals in that game against Watford. Harry Kane might be starting, so there might be some assists there for him. And obviously, he's got the goal threat, Heung-min Son. So I'm going with the South Korean for the armband.
He absolutely always does. And just before we wrap up this section, for myself, I'm going to be going with Kai Havertz to side Ben Rama, and then Kelechi Iheanacho to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'm sure Ali won't be too happy with that one. I'm sure he'd rather me get Antonio in, but I'm sticking with DCL, and then I'll move on from Wilson in the coming weeks, I think, and I'll get Antonio when West Ham's fixtures are just looking a little bit greener. But that wraps up this preview section of the podcast. So now, before we start the guest section for today's podcast, we've got to plug our fantastic sponsor, Bonus Bank, who are supporting us for the 2021 and 2022 season. If you're not aware, Bonus Bank show you how to make guaranteed profit by taking advantage of bookmaker promotions. Members of our community have been using Bonus Bank's platform for free to review bookie promotions and bonuses on the EPL in the past couple of game weeks, and I'm sure James Gasden has been telling us all about that on the watch longs on the weekends as well. It's proven to be a great tool in terms of picking up fantasy assets and teams to back, as it showcases the probabilities and the odds. You know, everyone loves a good statistic and predicted performances as well. As a sponsor, they've also provided the Manager of the Month prize for our paid mini, which will see $200 cash prize every month for the manager with the most points. The platform is free to join, but if you do want to unlock special features and go premium, make sure you use code FPL Addicts to receive a 25% discount on your first month's membership and no lock-in contract. See the link in our caption details and you'll learn how to make immediate profit. So if we move on now to a very special guest on the podcast today in the guest section. He's a street footballer, an expert futsal player, a skiller, and he has over 350,000 followers on Instagram. He's best known as D10 around the world, but we call him Daniel Capolaro. Welcome to the podcast, Daniel. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to FPL Addicts. Great to see you, mate. How are you going?
I'm going very well. Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction as well, and very professionally done, can I say? I've done a few of these podcasts, and mate, that was very, very good. Excellent intro. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, mate. We'll get right into the questions because we've got so much that we would like to ask you. My first question to you is the best player that you've ever played with, and just tell us about that moment. We know you've played with a fair few, a lot of ballers out there. So who's been your favourite?
Look, do you want me to be quick, or do you want it to be a long-winded answer? Because
take your time.
Take my time. Well, look,
absolutely.
I think the best player that I've played with is Douglas Costa, obviously of Grêmio, Shakhtar Donetsk, Bayern Munich, Juventus, Brazil. Would have been Douglas Costa. Playing against would have been Falcao, the futsal player. But I have played also with Brett Emerton, Marco Bresciano, Daniel Da Silva, and going back MPL days, what was State Premier League then, I played against Josh Risdon and also Brandon O'Neill. And at school, I played with Nick Ward, who played for Queen's Park Rangers. I don't know if you guys are aware of Nick Ward, but played for Melbourne Victory, Wellington Phoenix. He had quite a great career as well. So yeah, there's a few players there.
Wow, it's a fairly extensive list of the really good players that you played with. Must be an absolute honour to play with them. But no players from any of your any sort of massive Premier League sort of names. But who do you go for in the Premier League? Who do you follow?
Who do I follow? Look, I'm a lover of Spanish football and the philosophy of possession. So I love to follow Guardiola or Barcelona. So it has to be Man City. And I know it's very cliche at the moment, but I will say that I'm a Barca fan. And I feel that gives me some points back, given the ridiculousness, we can call it, that they're going through at the moment. But yeah, I'd have to say Man City. And my FPL is heavy Man City. So I reflect that. Sorry, Jack. I know Jack's is through and through a United supporter. I've got a lot of friends that are United supporters as well. And being born, I say in the 80s, so like 98, 99 was like prime time for me to be a United supporter, but I didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. And, there's a lot of people that, look up to Pep Guardiola and, the style of football that Man City play. It's an absolute pleasure to watch every single week. But you're the manager of La 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 Janala, sitting in the 500s in our FPL Addicts mini league in the top 80k in Australia. So we're just going to ask you a couple questions about your FPL journey. So you've been playing FPL obviously this season. What was your highest score? It doesn't have to be just from this season, any other seasons that you've also played in as well.
Mate, the last time I played fantasy before I played this league, the FPL Addicts, it would have been when we had like Windows XP. So it's going back a while.
Wow.
I used to make a team and then I'd leave it the first week and then you check it 5 weeks later and then use your wild card straight away. So no, I never really got into it. But given the COVID restrictions and the current issues we're facing in Victoria, I always get excited about the Premier League. And then, of course, I think it's your dad. Am I right? Because I see you wearing the Newcastle kit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I met him when I was at Puma and we started chatting away. And then I seen him leave this comment on FPL Addicts. And I was like, Nick, is he playing fantasy football? So I was just like, yeah, cool. I was like, Nick, are you putting a team in this? I don't know. Does he have a team?
He does have a team. He's got just Puma players in his team, so I've had to help him find he's been very, very particular with it. He was asking me last week, is Rafael Varane going to be playing for Man United? And I think he's probably watching because he said he was going to tune in tonight, so he's probably out there as well. But he does have a team himself.
Well, yeah, you guys have him to thank for me joining this league because I saw that comment and he's a brand man and he's big brand man. All Puma players. I've got a few in mine as well. But I had a conversation with Nick at when I was at the Puma headquarters in Moorabbin, and we started talking about Newcastle. I spoke about my time in England when I was playing futsal there, and I used to go and watch a lot of matches at St. James Park. And then it just kind of kicked on from there. And I saw the comment, and I was like, look, why not play FPL? And to answer the question about points, this game week I got 59, which was over the average, but last week I got 61. And I've been let down. I think I was let down by Bamford and I'm let down by Thiago Silva. I think those are the two biggest.
Yeah, we've got your team on the screen there. I love the St. Maximin pick there, but I think you haven't had the worst start in the world. Obviously, a lot of returns this week, as you mentioned. So you definitely just got to keep ticking along with it and keep going with it. But I think the others have got a couple of questions for you as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. Dan, good to see you, legend. Hope you're doing well, mate, and thanks for jumping on the podcast.
No, you're very welcome.
We just brought up your team here now, mate, and can you tell me how you built this squad? What was you thinking as you went through? Yeah,
cool. So this week it probably shows that I have a Marty, or does it show a Marty? Yeah, it shows a Marty on your screen. It's on mine as well. But I've got Edison in goals, Cancelo, because he obviously gets forward. It was either him or Zinchenko. And the way I pick defenders is pretty much whether they're going to be able to get a clean sheet. I feel they can get a clean sheet, especially the goalkeeper. Edison gets assists as well, so he gets assist bonus. But I've got, Alex Arnold or Trent Alexander-Arnold and then Cancelo because I know they get forward, they get crosses, they can get assists. Trent Alexander-Arnold got us one this week. He got the blue star. I don't know what that means. Is that like FPL team of the week or something like this? Mm-hmm. Then, Amati's actually in this week for Thiago Silva. So Thiago Silva's let me down. Last 2 game weeks, he's been out. I'm hoping you guys can help me with that. We'll get onto that in a second. So Silva's out. Amati's in because they're playing against Norwich. My midfield, Rafinha, unbelievable. Rasla. Benrahma has to be. But he came in. I made a transfer game week 2, the last one gone, for Jorginho. Jorginho I had in because 1, he's Italian. 2, he takes all the penalties. And 3, he always plays. So I thought he was going to do well. But I think Chelsea are just going to get so many more goals this season from other players that even if he takes 10 penalties, it's not really worth it. So Benrahma went in for Jorginho. Mahrez, Rasla. Fernandes goes without saying. I swapped in Antonio for Bamford. Bamford's out. He needs to look. Bamford's only got 1 touch, and if it doesn't go in the back of the net, then he's not helping anyone in FPL. Vardy up front is my captain for this week as well because they're playing Norwich. I think Vardy might get 8 goals, which will be awesome. And then St. Maximin because he's St. Maximin on the wing. and he's getting two
Baller.
men down, just being him. That's it, exactly.
Yeah, he's another razzler. You've got obviously some top players in there. You've got the Brazilian in there with Rafinha as well. I'm sure. Do you think he's any better than Douglas Luiz, who you play with, or
Douglas Costa?
Douglas Costa even?
Yeah, no, it's all right. I know who you're talking about. Look, he's a great player. He's someone that I followed him when he was playing League One as well. But I think him and Douglas Costa are very different players. I would liken Douglas Costa more to like a Neymar. He's much more flashy in that sense. I don't want to look. I know this is the FPL podcast, but for sake of naming players, Vinicius Jr., even Anthony, who's at Ajax, those types of Brazilian players, I think Douglas Costa's more like them. Whereas your Rafinha, he's even a bit more like a Richarlison or a Willian, or they're a bit more direct.
Awesome. That's the Guru here, Daniel, and thank you for your support this season and joining our community. So can you just give us a bit of a review of your season so far, and any transfers you've got for this coming game week?
So this week, Bamford out, Antonio in, and obviously link up with Benrahma. I'm going to keep him. I think they're going to be stalwarts of the La Ginola. I'm pretty sure those will stay. But as of next game week, I think Thiago Silva out. And I don't know if I'm going to bring in James or maybe even Luke Shaw, because I want another left or right back that gets forward and creates and makes crosses and possibly gets assists, as well as getting the clean sheet bonus. So it could be Marcus Alonso as well, because I've got 0.4 in the bank. So I've got a bit that I can spend. I hope that answers that.
I think Reece James is a good shout. Game week 7 onwards, Chelsea got a lot of good fixtures. So if you can get James in there now, because he's probably going to get a bit of a price rise.
He'll go up.
Bad shout from those. So good stuff.
All right, cool. Well, you're the guru, so I'm going to listen. All right. So Reece James, you think, yeah?
Yeah, I'd say if you can get him for game week 7 onwards with the fixtures, he's looking pretty good. But maybe you probably don't need him just now. But if you look at Chelsea's fixtures, game week 7 onwards, they got a lot of green fixtures. So definitely want to eye up those Chelsea defenders.
Who are they playing in game week 7? It's not Norwich, is it?
So 7 Southampton at home. Norwich will probably be in that run. I know they've got Saints.
Yeah.
I think they've got Brentford in there, and a lot of the I think Palace and sort of all the teams that you'd expect in sort of the bottom 10. So that's probably when you want to aim for those Chelsea players for sure.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you.
All right, Daniel, it's all here. Obviously, great to have you here. Thanks for your support through the season and all that. Was loving the Brett Emerson shout before, with me being a massive Rovers fan and all that. But could you name 2 assets for us, please, who you expect to perform in the season? And if you could include a bargain player or an enabler in there, possibly under 7 million, that'd be class.
2 assets. Obviously Harry Kane was going to be an asset, and then everything that's happening around the transfer speculation. Is he going to play? Will he play? Does he even train anymore? All this kind of stuff. I think I watch too much Sky Sports as well. I listen to Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher too much. I would say in terms of 2 assets, if I was to use my wild card, I'm going to bring in Salah and keep Fernandes. So I'd bring in Mo Salah and I would build the team around them. I saw people that did that on game week 1 and they've already got 300 points. So it's just silliness. Apart from that, bargains, I think, I look for the bargains myself because I try to keep a even spread across the team. I know I've spent big on Fernandes, but I don't have Harry Kane. I don't have Lukaku. I would love to have Lukaku in my side, but I think he's just too much. And he's probably going to go on and score every single week after I said that. But I think it's a lot for an investment. I would say Saint Maximin, Benrahma, Antonio, and look. I know you said I was watching the program before, and I was going to say Joe Willock because he was unbelievable last season, and everyone's just killed him in this podcast today. So I came here, I was like, who's the person? Who am I going to talk about? Who's the Nigerian striker at Watford?
Isaac
Dennis.
Success or Dennis?
No,
Dennis, because he's currently on 12 points. I think he scored a couple or maybe one an assist in the first week because I didn't do much this week, but he could be another surprise packet.
Good stuff, Daniel. And what's your target then for the FPL season in the FPL Addicts free mini? So we've obviously got 700 people in there, and then FPL overall we've got 7 million people. So what's your target in the free mini, and then what's your target kind of overall? What you aiming for this season? Do you think realistically?
Well, I'm just looking, and I'm currently you shouldn't have told me there's 700 people because I thought I was doing all right. I'm 552nd, so anywhere higher than that's good.
Yeah.
And in terms of the overall, I think I'm 3 million. So I suppose the level of the FPL Addicts was pretty good then, huh?
Oh yeah, it's good. Our top player at the moment in the free leagues in the top 1,000 in the world, I think. So yeah, we've got a good standard. Yeah, and I think last year we had a lot of top sort of 50k players. So yeah, the standard's good. But look, you're not looking too bad. Look, you're not in the relegation zone quite yet. So, you're doing okay.
Was it 197 places before that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Daniel, we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season, and we hope to, chat with you again so we can find out if you did finish above that 552nd towards the end of the season. But before you go, to all the viewers out there, where can they find your football content online so they can just, look at your skills in awe as we all do?
Thank you. At D10 Football. So at D10 and the word football. You'll be able to find me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all the known that's it right there. All the known social. Thanks, Jack. All the known social media platforms. Cheers, guys. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you, Daniel. So if we move on now to the guru section, our very own guru, Matt Day, is going to go through a couple of questions and, players to watch, teams to watch, the usual stuff. So take us through it.
Yeah, thanks, Elliot. And what a great guest section that was, may I say. But look, we'll start off with our community questions this week we've had from the Discord. And we'll go with Dodie has asked us, any reliable budget defenders to replace White or Shimikas with for this game week? Obviously, Ben White picked up COVID and Arsenal aren't on the best of form, and Shimikas is probably likely going to leave that Liverpool side soon. So there's a couple I've named. I'm going to go with Livramento from Southampton at 4 million. He looks like he's nailed his place in that Saints team, and he's been on absolute form in the last 2 games. And then in terms of replacing Ben White, I'm going to go with someone from my own side, Tanganga, 2 clean sheets in 2. He's sort of flying up that right-hand side for Spurs. A couple of good fixtures coming up as well, and he's only about 4.5 million. So Tanganga. And then also Marcel from Wolves is a bit of a differential, but again, he's 4.5 million. And Wolves look very solid on the weekend against us. And also in the Leicester game, obviously I know they lost both games 1-0, but their fixtures are going to get better soon, and I think it's definitely worth looking up some of those Wolves guys, and Marcel's going to be one of them.
Yeah, and I think we've got one more question from our very own Pizza Boy. He is one of our own, and he's always wanting the best advice that he can possibly get. So he's got a question, so take it away.
Yeah, so Pizza Boy with another good question, and he's asked, is it a good move to captain a West Ham player against Palace after they've obviously beat Leicester quite convincingly? And you know what, Pizza Boy, I think it is a good move. You've got Antonio in there and Ben Rama, who I think are the obvious picks this week from West Ham. And then if you really want to go someone different, you could try Cresswell, because you'd probably expect West Ham to keep a clean sheet in that one. So yeah, I'd definitely recommend the West Ham players this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that the questions are out of the way, we've got your information part of it. So you've got what we're going to brandish is your watch list for this week. And, it's not a watch list. There's not a Newcastle player on there. So I'll take it away, Matt.
Yeah, look, we're going to start with the under 10% differentials. And this is one that I know Ollie's going to love against Newcastle at 3% ownership. And it's going to be Adam Armstrong from Southampton. So he's the first one on there. He's obviously got 1 goal in 2, and he's looking sharp for Saints, so he's got to be on there. The second one, I'm going to go with a Villa player at home to Brentford. I'm expecting a clean sheet from Villa again. Ashley Young, who's playing out of he's a defender playing as a midfielder, so he's out of position player in FPL. 1.1% ownership. Another one, I'm going to pick a Spurs player against Watford. Dele Alli scored the penalty on the weekend. He scored plenty of goals against Watford in the past for Tottenham as well. 2.7% ownership. And then my last differential under 10% is going to be West Ham player who scored the other night, and he's only 0.6% owned, and he could be a huge differential this weekend, and it's going to be 4-0 against Crystal Palace.
Sorry, I had my mic muted there. A lot of nice differential picks in there for you, Matt. I really like the 4-0 pick. He's one to know where to find where the goals when West Ham really need it. So will you move on to your captain picks now for us?
Yeah, look, a couple of the obvious ones as usual. We're going to go Mo Salah. I know he's got the Chelsea game, but he loves a goal against Chelsea. He loves a goal at Anfield, obviously minus the Burnley game. But I think he's going to bounce back, and if Liverpool score, I think it's going to be him. Bruno's got to stay on there as well. Great first week. Didn't have the best game against Saints, but you can't not put Bruno on there. Away at Wolves this weekend. One mentioned by Statman earlier on, Danny Ings, home to Brentford. He scored in both games so far. Really looks good. So he goes on there. And then my last one for the week is going to be Son, home to Watford. Really good record against Watford in the past. So I think he's definitely one to potentially captain if you've got him. Actually, I'll put Antonio. Actually, I'll quickly add Antonio on there as well to wrap Antonio up as sort of 5 captains to watch this week, because I think Antonio deserves a place.
And as far as your curveball captain goes, who have you chosen for that?
I'm going with the man, Harry Kane. I think he's got potential to get back in that Spurs side this weekend and start from the beginning. And again, Harry Kane, he'll be fresh, ready to play. Watford at home, so Harry Kane's going to be my curveball.
Yeah, sounds pretty good, Matt. We'll get through the teams to back and probably the Scout 11 for the week on the Friday podcast. So we thank you all very much for watching and listening along. That brings us to the end of the Game Week 3 preview show. As I mentioned, myself and Matt will be back live on Friday for a deeper analysis of Matt's team and some last-minute FPL advice. So come along with any and all questions that you have. All the panel will also be back live this Saturday at 9 o'clock Melbourne time and 12 o'clock midday English time for Man City v Arsenal. We've got a watch along with myself and the rest of the panel. But until then, may all your FPL dreams come true in Game Week 3. Take care, stay safe. Bye for now.